Okay, let's keep developing this and keep basically working through all of the different tweaks that we can do while we're in Logic, all the different ways we can manipulate through this program. So we talked about looping things out. That's where we left off. I'm going to go ahead and loop out a little bit. And as we start to do those loops, pay attention to the fact that you've got snapping turned on here. Snap, it's set to smart. That means it's going to kind of grab hold of whatever's close. Maybe it's going to link to another track or another loop. Notice that it's divided by bars, that's measures. Beats, in each bar there's 4 beats in this particular time signature, 4/4 time. Or it could go into the division of the beat, the 16th note. And of course there's 16 16th notes between 9 and 10, for example. So as you start to drag it over, well, you can kind of tell it's latching onto those, but it's kind of stops feeling like snapping at that point. Well, you can get even smaller than that. Check this out. Inside each 16th note, there's a division of 240 ticks. And it seems like, well, why does that really matter? But that's kind of a standard measurement when it comes into music. You've got bars and beats and divisions and ticks, and there's 240 ticks. So you can see along the bottom of my my loop here that I have the help tags turned on, and I am getting the information that's telling me right where it's at. That's telling me it's measure 17, beat 1, division 3, tick 211. So that's how that is working across there. Well, let's leave it on smart, okay? Let's get this thing snapped right to the bar line. But we're going to know that's there. If we want to get inside that particular snap setting, we can do that. I'm going to zoom back out just a little bit. Incidentally, if you had turned off your help tags, we may have done that the other day. I go over to advanced. Of course, make sure we've got all those advanced settings on. And then help tags are going to be right down here on the display settings of Logic Pro. So you could grab that right there. Now, let's do a little something here. Let's use the tool palette. One of the great things about Logic, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. One of the great things about Logic is it has this tool palette that is it's lengthy. There's a lot of things you can get when you hit the tool palette. Well, how do you get the tool palette? Well, you hit the letter T, because T is for tool. And of course you see a wide array of tools coming through here. Each one of them has a little, very short, easy to remember keyboard shortcut. So the scissors tool, if you imagine the letter I just kind of cutting down through something, maybe that's how you remember the scissors tool. Well, glue tool is G. So how do you get those up? Well, let's get back to the pointer tool. You hit T to bring up the tools, and then I to bring open the scissors. So let's get into this loop right here in the middle, and we're snapping smart, and I can check that help tool and see that's beats, or rather measure 5, beat 1. And I'm gonna go ahead and cut that a little bit. And then how do I get the regular arrow tool back? This is super handy. You go T, T, you just hit it twice. So I go T-I, that gets me the scissors, T-T, hit it twice. All right, so that's how you get in there fast to operate this thing. How do we zoom again? Control, Option, hold it, and then zoom in. I'm kind of holding for effect. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab hold of, well, I don't want to loop it. I want to resize it down here. So I'm going to grab hold of this, and I'm going to just pull back to that particular splice right there, that transient, that division. I'm going to hit Control Option. I'm going to click my way back to where I was, and then hear how that sounds. Okay, now I know a couple things that I'm going to add to this. So I'm going to clear out that, and I'm going to add, I'm searching for Good Life. I'm going to let this beat kind of float over the top of that, and I'm going to let go of it right at measure 5, beat 1, division 1, tick 1. So you see how it's kind of helpful. Pop that track, zoom down. It's kind of helpful to pay attention to that every once in a while. I'm going to hit L to loop that out, and then I'm going to pull that back to make it stop there with the others. So I'm starting to put together a bit of a track here. Let's get a bass line that's going to go with that. Notice I'm dropping these underneath all those tracks that have been created. Now, Let's do a little copy and paste job. I'm going to hit Control Option, and again I want you to see that Control Option. I'm holding it. I'm going to zoom into just this beginning section. One of my very favorite things is how to copy these tracks from one to the next. I popped that up in my face. I didn't realize what I was doing there. How to copy this from one place to the next. So right there I just moved it. Well, Command Z, I'm going to undo that. Instead I want to copy it. So I click and hold as I drag across there, and then I hit the Option key, and you see now it turns into a region that's going to be copied. So I let go of it. And now I know a thing or two about resizing, so I'm going to drag this over to resize right to there. Now I'm going to zoom in, Control Option. I'm going to zoom in, and then I'm going to grab this to resize again. I'm going to find myself right there. Now, as it turns out, I want it to lock right there. If I wanted to override that snapping momentarily, I could hold down the Control key. What that does is that overrides your snapping for a little bit, so I can get right into there. Now I'm going to take the T tool to bring that up again, and then I'm going to grab the Fade tool. A is for fade, and I'm just going to take just a little snippet off the beginning of that, and actually that was probably a little too much. I just want that to come in nice and smoothly. Now Control Option and click takes me back. Control Option and click takes me back again to where I was before. Let's hear how this sounds for measure 3. Okay, I've got 2 more elements to add to this, and then we are going to pop this, to bounce this as an MP3 file. So real quick, I'm just going to go ahead and drop in a couple of these arpeggios. Check this out. It would help if I could see what I was typing in there. I'm leaned over here towards the microphone. I'm making excuses, guys. I'm making excuses. I'm going to add one called Barricade right here. Drop that right underneath there, measure 5. Actually, we're going to let this develop a little bit. We're going to drop that there. And I'm going to add that deal breaker there. I'm going to resize that so that it matches, and actually slide that one measure over. Now I can select both those if I wanted to. I could Option drag them and let go, or I'm going to undo that. So again, that's Option drag, holding down Option, let go. Or I could hit Command R, and that repeats. So that's pretty handy. Okay, so let's listen to those. Side note, real quick. These controls right here, back and forward by a measure, these are accessible by the comma and the period. If you notice, they have the little greater than or less than arrow carrots on them. So you can bump it back a couple times by hitting that comma button. Let's hear it. Okay, super. We are going to come back in and close out by adding a piano. We're going to cut out some of those other tracks that are going on behind here. We're going to add a couple of effects, and then we're going to mix this thing down.